I witnessed this film at the cinema. There was never a convenient time to enjoy popcorn. The movie begins 89 days after extraterrestrial creatures took control of Earth, resulting in the decimation of the human population. These creatures lack vision but possess exceptional hearing abilities and impenetrable armor. Among the remaining survivors, we meet a cautious family navigating through an abandoned store. They search for essential supplies. Evelyn Abbott, the mother, carefully examines untouched prescription bottles, hoping to find medicine for her sick son Marcus. The family takes great care to minimize noise and communicates solely through sign language. Accompanied by Evelyn is her deaf daughter, Regan, and her youngest son, Beau. Beau, a mischievous boy, enjoys drawing on the floor. While gathering provisions, Beau discovers a toy space shuttle on a shelf and tries to reach it by climbing a stool. To everyone's dismay, the toy slips from the shelf, but Regan quickly catches it before it hits the ground. Meanwhile, Lee Abbott, the father, arrives at the store and collects electronic items to enhance the range of a radio he acquired. However, he instructs Beau to leave the toy behind due to the noise it would make if activated. Shortly after, Evelyn signals the family to move before it gets dark. As they prepare to leave, Regan secretly returns the toy to Beau, but without the batteries. Nevertheless, Beau manages to retrieve the batteries unnoticed. Following this, the family silently makes their way home, carefully stepping on a path of sand that laid to avoid noisy leaves. Upon reaching a pedestrian bridge, Beau inserts the batteries into the toy, inadvertently activating it and causing loud noises. The family is horrified by this turn of events. Lee rushes frantically towards his son, but it's too late as a menacing alien creature appears suddenly and snatches the little boy away. Beau is killed right in front of his family's eyes. However, for a brief moment, that toy space shuttle was quite delightful. The movie then fast-forwards 1 year, and we see the Abbott family in their farmhouse. They seem to have moved forward from the tragic incident. Evelyn is now several months pregnant, doing her best to ensure her family's safety. In the basement, Lee has set up a surveillance system with cameras, monitors, a radio, and various electronic equipment in hopes of establishing contact with any other survivors. Lee is undoubtedly intelligent, though not intelligent enough to wear a. One evening, while the family is playing Monopoly, Marcus accidentally knocks over a lantern, causing it to break and start a small fire. Lee reacts quickly, extinguishing the flames, and the family anxiously waits for any potential threat. Moments later, they hear a loud noise coming from the roof. Lee looks out the window and is startled but relieved to find out it was just a raccoon that fell. He then goes down to the basement to continue working on a cochlear implant processor for his daughter's hearing. Later, Evelyn joins him in the basement, and they share a romantic moment. Wearing earphones, they engage in a slow dance, momentarily forgetting the chaos that has engulfed their world. The next morning, Lee is seen pouring sand on the marked pathways outside their home to ensure their footsteps remain silent. Meanwhile, Evelyn tends to her health in the cellar, checking her blood pressure as her labor due date approaches in a couple of weeks. Placing a stethoscope on her abdomen, she reveals a strong and healthy heartbeat of her unborn child. Afterward, Regan enters the house, carefully stepping only on designated areas of the floor that do not creak. After carefully stepping through the house, Regan expresses her desire to go down to the basement. However, her father intervenes, preventing her from doing so. He presents her with a new cochlear implant processor, equipped with additional amplifiers. Despite Regan's initial belief that they are ineffective, her father insists she give them a try, so she puts them in her pocket and leaves. Later in the day, Lee decides to go fishing and invites Marcus to join him. Marcus is initially scared and hesitant, but Evelyn convinces him by explaining that his father wants to teach him important skills for the future. If you don't know how to fish, son, how will you ever be bored? Regan also expresses her desire to join them, but Lee instructs her to stay behind and care for her mother. This decision upsets Regan, so she packs her bag and leaves the farmhouse. In the next scene, the father and son arrive at the river, where Lee imparts important wisdom. He explains that producing soft sounds is acceptable as long as louder sounds are present in the environment. They move closer to a waterfall where they can speak freely without fear of being overheard. Marcus even screams at the top of his lungs, something he has never done before. Meanwhile, Regan makes her way to the same bridge where her brother was tragically taken a year ago. She takes out the space shuttle toy and carefully cuts a wire, allowing the toy to light up without making any noise. Leaving the toy there, she hopes her departed brother can play with it in heaven. Elsewhere, as Lee and Marcus are heading home, they are startled by an old man who emerges from the woods. When Lee tries to approach him, he notices the lifeless body of an old woman, likely the man's wife. Lee attempts to signal the man to keep quiet, but unfortunately, the man becomes frightened and lets out a loud scream. Lee is filled with horror, swiftly grabs his son, and hides behind a tree. In the next moment, a deadly alien creature attacks the old man and takes his life. At this time, Evelyn finds herself alone at the residence when her water breaks. She tries to remain composed and heads downstairs to the basement. Unfortunately, she accidentally steps on an exposed nail on the stairs, causing her to cry out in pain and drop a picture frame, shattering it on the floor. She is completely alone in the house. The loud noise catches the attention of the alien creatures, who are now aware of her presence. Despite the pain, she manages to free her foot from the nail and proceeds to the basement, where she activates a network of red light bulbs strategically placed throughout their property, serving as a warning signal. Afterward, Evelyn attempts to go upstairs but soon realizes that one of the creatures has already infiltrated the house. Before long, the creature enters the basement, where Evelyn is hiding in fear. With time running out, she sets an egg timer as a distraction. The plan works, and as the creature's attention is diverted, she manages to escape upstairs. She reaches the bathroom successfully, where she begins the process of giving birth. Meanwhile, Lee and Marcus return home and notice the illuminated red lights, realizing that Evelyn is in danger. Lee hands Marcus a firecracker and instructs him to light it, hoping it will scare away the creatures. Despite the inherent risks, Marcus runs to a designated spot, ignites the fuse, and triggers a series of fireworks as a diversionary tactic. This finally allows Evelyn to release a scream, no longer able to suppress the pain of her contractions. Soon after, Lee grabs his shotgun and enters the house. He searches the bathroom only to find an empty bathtub stained with his wife's blood. Initially devastated, he soon feels relief when he discovers Evelyn safe in the shower, holding their newborn baby boy. Overwhelmed with emotion, Lee embraces his wife tightly. Meanwhile, Marcus, making his way back to the house, spots a creature. Desperate to escape, he runs into a cornfield but accidentally collides with a tractor wheel, rendering himself unconscious. Regan, who has been resting near the memorial, witnesses the fireworks display and rushes back home. On her way, Regan notices Marcus's flashlight beam coming from the cornfield but is unaware of the approaching creature behind her. However, as the creature gets closer, Regan's cochlear implant processor emits a high-pitched feedback, causing immense pain to the creature and forcing it to retreat. Just then, Regan finds her frightened brother and embraces him tightly. The siblings then make their way to the top of a grain silo and ignite a signal fire, hoping to alert neighboring farms of their presence. Meanwhile, Lee carries his wife and their newborn baby to a hidden refuge beneath the barn's floor. There, he carefully places an oxygen mask on the baby and secures him in a soundproof crib. Afterward, Lee sets out to find their missing children, while water steadily fills the cellar. Evelyn wakes up to find the cellar flooded, with a creature descending into the room. Acting cautiously, she picks up her baby and stealthily moves to the back of the cellar, taking cover behind the flooding waterfall. Meanwhile, Marcus and Regan remain atop the silo, anxiously awaiting their father's arrival. Suddenly, a hatch in the silo breaks open. Regan courageously jumps, quickly pushing the hatch towards Marcus so he can grab hold of it. In the process, however, Regan herself starts sinking into the grain. Just as it seems she is about to meet a gruesome death, Marcus somehow manages to climb onto the hatch and pull his sister to safety. Following this, the siblings find a secure perch atop the silo door, but suddenly they hear a crash above them. To their dismay, it's the same creature from the cellar that has made its way to the silo, lured by the noise. But once again, Regan's cochlear implant emits a piercing sound, causing the creature to recoil in agony before fleeing. With the danger momentarily averted, Regan and Marcus jump out of the silo and finally reunite with Lee. However, their relief is short-lived as they hear the ominous noise of another approaching creature. Lee instructs the children to quickly get into his truck and use it to return home. Arming himself with an axe, Lee prepares to confront the creature. Unfortunately, he becomes the target of its attack, prompting Marcus to scream in horror. Drawn by the sound, the creature diverts its attention to the truck, violently tearing at it. Once again, Regan's cochlear implant emits its piercing feedback, but unaware of its significance, she decides to turn it off. This gives the creature an opportunity to strike the truck with full force. Meanwhile, Lee, injured but determined, realizes that his children are in imminent danger and must act quickly to save them. Lee makes a bold decision. He looks at his daughter and communicates his love through sign language one last time. Then, with a loud yell, he diverts the creature's attention, allowing his kids to escape. Regan and Marcus quickly release the truck's brakes and roll it back to the house, where they are finally reunited with their mother. As for Lee, he sacrifices himself, torn to pieces. Dwight took this prank too far. In the subsequent scene, Evelyn and the children still hear a nearby creature shriek, so they seek refuge in the basement. There, Regan discovers her late father's research on cochlear implants, indicating the extensive time and effort he invested in helping her. Overwhelmed with emotion, she examines her father's handwritten notes and stumbles upon one that reveals the creature's weakness. She realizes that her hearing aid possesses the power to weaken the creature. With determination, she removes her cochlear implant and slams it against a microphone, causing the creature's head to contort in agony before collapsing. As the wounded creature struggles to regain its footing, the amplified sound exposes its vulnerable inner tissue, leaving its head exposed. Seizing the opportunity, Evelyn shoots the creature, blowing its head off. With Marcus and the baby seeking safety in a corner, Regan and Evelyn monitor the security camera screens, witnessing more creatures approaching the house. Empowered by their newfound knowledge of how to fight back, Regan amplifies the sound and raises the microphone, while Evelyn, with a smile on her face, cocks the shotgun. Subscribe for more videos like this, turn on notifications, and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.